Okay, so let's get into the program. So this is just the home screen. Why do we call it Fortify? Because that's exactly what you've got to do. And one thing that you'll see going through everything that I do is every word has a meaning. And in this case, the obvious ones there are obvious, but Fortify, let's explain that in a little bit more detail. So why do we call the program Fortify, and what relation does that have to boundary management? It's exactly what we have to do. To fortify is to provide a defense as protection against attack. So in relationship, particularly when we start looking at narcissistic relationship, you are constantly under attack every single second of the day. So let's talk narcissism, right? Anything that you say can and will be used against you. Anything that you don't say can and will be used against you. Anything that you think, anything that you don't think can and will be used against you. Anything that they think that you could have thought will be used against you. And then anything that they just think up at the time that serves their purpose can and will be used against you. So when we talk narcissism, we're talking about someone that doesn't deal in reality. Narcissists run from reality. So if I give you an analogy of this, we look at narcissism and we say, okay, you're going to argue, right? If we did it numerically, your argument, based on what you just experienced, right, was 1 + 1 = 2. That's your argument, right? And you're representing that. So that could be that you're getting dressed and ready to go out. That could be that you're cleaning your teeth. That could be that your parents rung and said, hey, how was your day? It really doesn't matter. So 1 + 1 = 2. But the narcissist then replies. And they don't use truth or reality. And therefore, when they're arguing with you, debating with you, manipulating you, coercing you, they're not using facts. And you think you're dealing in 1 and 1. And they're saying, no, it's 7 + 24. And you're like, what? What? Well, 7 plus, I mean, like so now you start defending the 7 + 24, and they break that into 3 bits. 1 to 7. Well, don't forget it was 1 + 1. Now they're talking about 7, and they're telling you why the first one is a 7. And you start arguing about that. Why? Because it gets cloudy. It's shock and awe. And you're trying to work this out and work, how did that one become? Okay, well, maybe, and then you give a little bit of ground. All right, when we don't manage our boundaries, we give ground because we're trying to justify, and they are so certain that it was 7. Okay, well, let's assume it was 7, but surely the other one was 1, right? No, 24. Well, even if we use 7 and 24, it = 31. No. I don't know where you come up with that. And you're like, okay, now I'm confused. Now I'm feeling stupid. When they give you their explanation and you can't follow it, and you're trying to doubt yourself as to why this is happening. And then they give you the false answer. So now you're chasing shadows.
Yeah.
That's not. But numerically, it's so much easier to see versus what we experience, which is, why did it take you 27 minutes to get home when you should have been home in 15 minutes? And you're like, it did take me 15 minutes. Well, then you should have been home at this time. Now you're lying to me. No, I wouldn't lie to you. I'm now trying to defend the lie. And then they throw. So it's not numerical, but the numerical is just the analogy of the confusion that they throw and why you get lost. So fortify, to provide a defense as protection against this attack that makes no sense, that has no reality, that has no truth, to make you stronger. It's to give you more skills, right? But ultimately, it's to make you safe, secure, empowered. And here's the kicker. Ultimately, what do we want to feel? We want to feel free. Freedom is what everyone fights for. We want freedom. Now, freedom, you can be free in relationship. It's the most beautiful aspect of relationship, because there's two individuals traveling one road, but we're both free. We're both individuals. But here's the kicker. Boundary management is on you. I'll say that again. Boundary management is on you. It's your responsibility. No one can do it for you. You can't pass it off. So you are the only one that you can rely on. And the fear why we get out of a narcissistic relationship, and it's so much easier to say all men suck. I'm scared to get into another relationship. I can't trust men, right? How am I ever going to be able to trust again? Well, see, it's got nothing to do with men. It's got nothing to do with anything else. It's even got nothing to do with your ex-narcissist. Everything has to do with you. You need to be able to trust you, and they have groomed you not to trust you. Because when you thought it was one, it wasn't one. And when you thought it was 1 + 1, it wasn't +1, it was something else. And when you thought 1 and 1 equaled 2 and it doesn't equal 2, your whole perception of reality is blown. And so you no longer trust you. Why? Because it was so painful at the time. So you kept moving your boundary, you kept moving your line, you kept sacrificing your will for them. And we're going to dig into that as we go. So this is the aspects of boundary management. This is why we have to fortify ourselves against this. So I address this point here, and you may have heard me say it before, but effectively, I use words literally. And therefore, it brings out reality, it brings out truth, and it gives us clarity. So we look at two different groups of people. One is the people pleaser. And more often than not, a people pleaser is what we refer to ourselves as. Why? The reality is because it sounds lovely. It's a soft get. You see, a people pleaser is really someone, or the event of people pleasing is really a two-way street where, for argument's sake, if I'm the people pleaser, I've noticed that you're sick, right? In our conversation, and I know you're bedridden and you haven't got much support, and I come over and I bring you a chicken soup, right? I do something that is pleasing, and you reciprocate with love and kindness, right? And appreciation and gratitude for it. And if it was to happen to me, the high probabilities you would do the same for me. You would take care of me one way or the other, right? Pleasing. We're pleasing each other. That's people pleasing. Submitting your will to a manipulative, coercive, narcissistic, abusive person isn't a people pleaser. That's a people appeaser.
I was just reading that. That's me. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, here's the kicker. You're not alone, right? It's all of us that have suffered from narcissism. We've shifted because we are empathetic and we do want to please loved ones, right? We give. We're very giving, generous, committed, loyal, selfless people. But submitting your will to another person isn't those things. And I say it deliberately. A people pleaser, appeaser, sounds horrible. It sounds horrible if I said you're a people appeaser. That doesn't sound nice. If I say you're a people pleaser, see, that's so much softer. Well, the softer doesn't create shift. Once we look at it, we go, damn it, that's not pleasing, that's appeasing. Appeasing means I am submitting my will to please them. And I will never do that again. Because I know categorically that it doesn't work. So let's talk about the learning cycle, because the reality is we become groomed. And when we are groomed, we respond unconsciously most of the time. So the learning cycle, if we use driving as an analogy, there was a period of time in your life when you were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, where you were unconsciously incompetent about driving. Effectively means unconscious, you're unaware. Incompetent means you didn't have the skill set. So in other words, you don't know what you don't know about driving, and that's okay, right? It's where we start all the time. Elon Musk is doing a whole lot of stuff that I don't know about. So I'm unconsciously incompetent on a whole scale of things. That's okay. But over time, when we come back to the analogy of driving, I become consciously incompetent. So in other words, I become aware of, right? I'm now aware that driving is a thing that you actually do, and I can kind of see the mechanics behind it. So I've got conscious awareness, but I haven't yet done it, or I haven't done it enough, and therefore I'm incompetent. Again, perfectly okay. Because I then get to a particular age where I do my learners, I start getting some hours behind me, I sit my driver's license, and someone tells me that I'm consciously competent. Where I get to a point where I'm aware and I have some basic skills around it. However, conscious competence means I have to really pay attention. Right? I'm paying attention, and when I pay attention, I'm quite competent at it. Then we move on, we progress. So if we look at ourselves now, where all of us in this room have had licenses for years, we get to a state where we become unconsciously competent. Unconscious competence is when we get to the level where we are so good at something that we do it without conscious thought. The example of driving. When you drove last, how much attention did you pay to driving versus what was on your mind?
Yeah, you don't pay attention, you just do it.
Right? So I invite you to my course on paying attention while driving, which is
You know what I mean? Like you don't.
No, you're 100%.
Yeah, it's just natural. It's just natural.
100%. And here's the kicker, Danny. If I said to you, righto, I want you to write me a detailed list of everything that you did on a 5-minute drive. So in other words, every direction that you looked, every thought that you thought, everything that you were aware of, the pressure on the accelerator, the brake, the indicator, the gear changes, right? The looking in the rear vision mirror, the side mirrors, is that a dog coming out? What's that car doing? Who's that? It would probably take you a day to write a list of a 5-minute drive. That's how unconsciously competent you are at driving. In other words, what I'm saying, like this, your brain's just turning over 1,000 thoughts a second. Right? You're multitasking when you're driving, yet your thoughts are on that asshole. And what he did or did not do, what he said or what did not say, how you've been abused, how did this happen, right? Yet you're processing. So my point, we become unconsciously competent at things that do not serve us. We become so brilliant at things, behavioral patterns, responses, people pleasing, responses that do not serve us. And we pay a massive price for that. A massive price. And we'll dig into that in a bit more detail. So what is a boundary? Boundary management. I break it down to 3 things, and we're going to go through this over and over and over again. So boundary management is self-worth, intuition, and integrity in action. That's what boundary management is. Self-worth is the internal sense of being good enough, right? And knowing, feeling worthy of love and belonging from others. That's self-worth, right? Self-worth isn't your opinion of you. It's self-worth comes out in action. Did I represent myself there? Did I feel guilty when I represented myself? Did I feel shameful when I represented myself? No, I didn't. I did it. I spoke my truth and I felt good about it. That's self-worth.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So is self-worth not the same as self-esteem?
They're very, very similar. They are 2 different things.
Okay.
Cool.
I look at self-esteem slightly differently. Listen, it's all wording, isn't it? What does it mean to me?
Yeah.
right? So self-esteem can be, I feel good about myself,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Self-worth, I find, is a much deeper level where how do I respond, right? Because I know you can feel good about yourself and get smashed like that. So you come out of the bathroom, dancing out of the bathroom, you've just done yourself up, you're ready for a beautiful evening, right? And you come out and I'm like, wow, you are so gorgeous, beautiful. I'm so excited to have this evening with you. And we keep going. Yet how do you handle when you come out and I'm like, ugh. And you think about it, it doesn't have to even be that direct. It could just be a subtle sort of look. And then all of a sudden, you are smashed to bits.
Yeah.
Self-worth, right? Self-worth, my example, right? I'm drinking natural mineral water with a hint, I haven't got my glasses on, with a hint of lime, right? That's what I'm drinking right now. And if I called you a can of Schweppes natural mineral water, it's not going to upset you. You are a can of Schweppes mineral water with just a hint of lime. And you're going to look at me and go, Jamie, what are you talking about? You're an idiot. Right? Okay. I turn around and go, you're worthless. You are nothing to me. You're scum. All of a sudden you go, that hurt. Right? Now, I call you scum, it hurts. I call you a Schweppes mineral water, it doesn't. Here's the kicker. Neither are true. Both are as wrong as one another. You are no more a scumbag as you are a can of mineral water, yet one you laugh at me, the other you get hurt. You get triggered. Self-worth. Because what's happening is you're going, oh, and I just tugged on a bit of doubt. Because you don't truly believe it yourself. So the position I like to get people in is, if you look at filling up your self-worth tank, if we look at the imagery of that, and you go, it's kind of like you drinking 2.5 liters of water, right? And you're going to drink that in 20 minutes, half an hour. And it ain't going to be easy. But let's assume you've done it. You go, okay, so you've had your 2.5 liters of water. And then I get a jug, 2.5 liters of water, and I put it in front of you. So you've now drunk 2.5 liters of water and you've got access to 2.5 liters of water. Now I come up to you and go, hey, I want a glass of water. And you're kind of like, I kind of got a lot of water. I'm kind of full of water. In other words, because you have an abundance, how can I win you over with my water? You see, when you have self-worth in abundance, when I try and win you over, love bomb you with compliments and all these things, it's like, Vanessa, you're beautiful. And you're like, I know. Now, I know you're not saying that, but you're going, no, I know I'm a beautiful person, right? And I say, Danny, you're just so incredible and you're amazing. And you're like, I know. I'm not. Yeah, but I'm trying to win you. I'm trying to love bomb you at the moment.
If we fill our own cups, then we don't need. Is that what you mean? Like,
correct. If you already know your worth, how can I bump you off course?
Yes.
Right? So in relationship, when you've got your own worth and someone new comes in It's kind of like you're going to have to do better than just telling me the stuff I already know. You're going to have, it's like, it's beautiful to hear, right? We love that. But you're going to have to bring more, because I don't rely on you for it. I don't need you to tell me that I'm awesome for me to know I'm awesome. Because if I need you to tell me I'm awesome to feel awesome, what happens when we get to the point when you choose not to tell me?
Been there. Yep, got it.
Correct. I'm now vulnerable. Hey, Carla.
Hi.
So we've only just started, so you're really early in the piece. So this is the point. This is why I say self-worth isn't your opinion. You can tell if you're low in self-worth by the way in which you react to things. Now, of course, if someone comes up to you and goes, you're horrible or whatever it is, it doesn't feel nice. But it's something where you go, doesn't feel nice. I process, but I don't take it on board. I don't go, oh, really? Oh, no. Like, oh, my gosh, you determine my worth. If you're an asshole, that means I'm not worth it. We're altering those belief systems. No, if you're being an asshole, it's because you're an asshole. It's got nothing to do with me and my worth. So therefore, I'm not going to take it on. Right? I will see it as, wow, you're clearly having a bad day and you're trying to drag me down, but it ain't going to work. I'm not going to take on your baggage because I've got boundaries. My boundary says your insecurities does not become my insecurity. Your lack of integrity does not represent my self-worth. See what happens when you rephrase things? When you reframe it, it's like, oh, you're being spiteful and disgusting. And somehow I'm taking that as a valuation of my worth. Now, how does 1 + 1 = 2? Because you're sucking into a world where you go, no, your shitty behavior's got nothing to do with me. Why am I buying into that? What? If someone comes up, if someone loving comes up and says to you, listen, do you mind if we have a discussion, right? It's going to be an uncomfortable discussion. I want to have a chat to you. And I want you to know that this is coming from a good place. But what I've got to say, you're not going to want to hear. Well, then I'm asking you, do you want to have, now you might go, listen, maybe not now, or you might, yeah, no, absolutely. And I go, listen, that was not good what you did. That was pretty poor form. You might look into it and go, yeah, he's right. Because we act badly from time to time. Of course we do, no matter who we are. Even, I know you wouldn't believe it, but sometimes even I do. Right? There's a type of thing where you go, because it comes from love and we're looking for a good outcome, and I'm going, come on, you're better than that. That's beautiful. But if I just turn around and go, you fucking you shitty whacking, well, that's not coming from a place. That's just a whole line of shit from me, incompetence from me to communicate, abuse from me. Well, no, I don't take that. I'm not taking that on board. That's what boundaries do. So self-worth, we've got to know our self-worth. Intuition, particularly as women, tune into it. So powerful. The only problem is you've been groomed. When your intuition talks, you've been groomed that your thoughts and that your intuition is bad. And therefore, you've associated emotions with it that are confusing you. Those two emotions in particular are guilt and shame. I'll give you an example. You're put into a situation where you want to say no. You know by saying no, the other person's not going to be happy. You instantly feel guilty about that. Right? Wrong. I mean, right, but we don't do that. You see, what you're doing in that exchange is you are taking accountability and responsibility for them and their ability to process truth. We don't do that. It will never, ever serve you. And if you want any proof, check every time you've done it to see if it gets any other result. And you'll soon know that you go, shit, yep, spot on. We take accountability and responsibility for other people's poor behavior. So in other words, I can't handle no. I don't care what you think. Your answer means nothing to me. Submit to me and do whatever I want. I mean, they don't express it that way. They try and manipulate and coerce you.
Or you get silent treatment as punishment if you say no.
Correct. Silent treatment is abuse. And we will talk about that. Silent treatment is abuse. What I am trying to do is tap in to one of your biggest fears. I'm going to tap into abandonment here. I'm going to tap into self-worth at a level where I go, you're not even worth talking to. You're not even worth looking at. Like, and that hurts bad. That makes us feel tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it being done? Because I'm having a tantrum now and I'm not getting what I want. And I want an Oompa Loompa and I want it now. Right? When you start reframing it, you start looking at it going, oh my God, that is exactly it. Just wants a particular result and is using abuse techniques that they've learned that works for them in the past and just duplicating it. So think of a little baby, right? It cries. Now there's two ways to stop a baby crying, and one is to ignore it, leave it alone. Teach it that the crying isn't going to get the response. Or you've got the parents like, oh, it's crying, well, let's go in. And the baby goes, 5 minutes worth of crying, money comes. And then they go, oh no, next time I'm going to wait out 8 minutes. Okay, I've got to go a bit longer, but if I just keep, and it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Look at a teenage child. How many times do I have, you'll know the difference between someone that can't manage their boundaries or not. You have a look at the way the children respond. Right? Do your children, do you have to ask them more than once? Well, they've learned that I can just nag. How many times until you break? Because as a child, no problem. Yes, but you don't understand. But you know all the angles until finally it just, whatever, get out of, can't deal with this anymore. Fine, watch the TV. Fine, have your phone. Fine. Or we're educated. But when there's consequence to the action, where I was quite strict, so my kids knew you asked one second time and things are getting ugly. And if I went on the count of, they knew my counting sequence. Because I used to say, on the count of 1, 1. As fast as I could. And as soon as they heard on the count, they knew, right? And it actually became a little bit of a joke because, no. When Dad says that's it. Right? Now, this isn't a reflection of parenting is the hardest thing you can do. So that's not what we're talking about, but it's an analogy.
Can I just get that? Can I just get you to record that so I can play it for my kids? Because I need that voice.
100%. And this is the reality. Sometimes they need that, right? But the reality is you see that you're just getting the adult version of that, where they're looking at it, okay, they're not lying on the ground having a tantrum this way. It could be the silent treatment. It could be to yell and scream. It could be to strike. It could be to point. It could be to stand over. It could be to use reverse psychology. It could be to use blackmail. It could be to use manipulation. It could be whatever tools have worked for them, depending on their personality type, is the way they go. So self-worth, intuition, and integrity. Integrity is you representing you, the way you would a loved one. I always say, picture the most loved, cherished, when your children, when they're at the beautiful age, right? And you look at it and go, what? I always think of my daughter when I have this example, and I'm like, what would I allow to happen to her? And I often think about the time she was premature and her head sitting in the palm of my hand and her body literally sat in this little space here, and she was so delicate, right? And I go, what would I want? What would I allow for her? Would I allow someone to swear at her? I would recommend that you don't if you want to live. Right? So then I can't allow it for me. That's integrity. Right? Understanding that if I wouldn't tolerate it for them, I can't tolerate it for me. Because if you don't, you won't trust yourself. If you don't trust yourself, you won't respect yourself. If you don't respect yourself, you will lose value. If you don't see value, that's worth. You have disconnect and you stop loving yourself. Every transaction. If you want to see that work out in reality, let's assume that I lie to you. And I'm categorically lying. All of a sudden, things that I say, you're not going to believe anymore. And you would lose a little bit of respect for me. You lose a lot, but let's assume it's a small lie, unnecessary, but I still did it. And you lose a little bit of respect. You wouldn't value me so much, which means I wouldn't have as much worth, which would create distance between you and I. And rightly so. And this is what we do with us. So boundary management, self-worth, intuition, and integrity in action. So this is a diagram here. The wording on the right-hand side is the Google response to what a boundary is. Guidelines, rules, limits that a person creates to identify reasonable, safe, and blah, blah, blah. Awesome, lovely. How the hell do I apply that to my life? Right? What we have here is a diagram of the 7 layers of evolution. This is what boundaries are. This is what boundaries look like. This is the questions you ask yourself, and this is how you apply them. So, a boundary. First question, outside circle. People trying to come in to your world. Outside circle. Do I feel safe? First question. There are only 7 boundaries. Do I feel safe? Do I feel physically safe? Do I feel sexually safe? Do I feel intellectually safe? Do I feel emotionally safe? Do I feel safe to speak my truth? If I don't, boundaries been triggered. Do I feel supported? Is there acceptance and connection in this exchange? If not, I don't feel I've got their support, boundary. Do I feel significant and that we're going places? Silent treatment, you will never feel significant. You will feel insignificant. It's designed to do that. Boundary. Do you feel valued? Do you feel valued by a person that chooses not to talk to you, that chooses manipulation, that chooses to hurt you? No. Do you feel free? Free to speak your truth. Free to be the person you want to be. Free to come and go as you please with no repercussion. Do you feel evolved? Like your relationship is growing and getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper? And do you have alignment to purpose? These are the boundaries. This is all you need to know. But it applies to every single aspect of life. This applies to your children. This applies to your parents, to your work colleagues, to your employers, to your employees. to a financial decision. I'm going to buy a new house, right? Can I afford it? Do I feel safe? Is my risk profile right? Is there a level of acceptance and connection to it? Do I feel accomplished, valued, free? I don't feel free. If I do this, the debt's going to be so high, I feel vulnerable. No, I want it. I want a new car. I'm going to buy $100,000 car. Do I feel free? No, I've got a car that I want, but I've got a financial commitment that doesn't make me feel free. So this will work to every single aspect of your life, not just relationships. Right? Now, yes, you might just tweak the headings a little bit to suit your circumstances. But this is all you need to learn. Safe, supported, accomplished, valued, free, evolved, and aligned to purpose. And then you'll know your boundaries. In any situation, how do I feel? It's the only question. How do I feel right now? Well, I don't feel safe. I don't feel valued. I don't. Boundaries. That's what boundaries are. People think a boundary is, no, you can't cheat on me. That's not a boundary. Oh, they've crossed the boundary. No. Well, yes, but no, that's not the boundary. If someone's cheated, you go, no, that's a point of no return. That's not a boundary. Me talking over the top of you is a boundary. Why? Because I do not feel valued when you think your words are more important than mine. And you just go, I'm guilty of this. I talk over people. I am so sorry. Right? But if I kept talking over the top of you, particularly when you're trying to tell me about your feelings and so forth, you're not going to feel valued. Boundary. You even now know how to express it. I'm hurting right now. How am I hurting? I don't feel, when you talk over the top of me, Jamie, I don't feel valued in the conversation because you're not listening to what I have to say. You're only interested in what you have to say. Well, that's a one-way conversation. I actually don't feel safe in that conversation. I don't feel supported by you. See how we now get a new dialogue. You have a look at getting into a relationship. It's not just about boundaries. When I get into a relationship with someone, I first need to feel safe. If you don't make me feel safe in every sense of the word, then we're not moving forward. Until I feel safe, we're not moving forward. Well, I now feel safe. Well, I need to connect. I need to feel accepted. I need to feel supported. And until such time, we don't go forward. I need to feel level of significance in your life. Otherwise, we're not going forward. Right? I need to feel valued. Like you value my time. You value my thoughts. You value my ideas. You value my financial situation. You value whatever it may be. You value it. Like when I'm talking, you can see the intent. They're intently listening to you because they want to hear, not just dismiss. They're not setting you up with love bombing and making it like, oh, no, you don't understand. You're so beautiful. It's amazing. Ah, da, 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 da. It's like, whoa, shut up. Hear me. These are boundaries. Boundaries are important because they give you clarity. Clarity is to clear the clutter and fog from your life. It's to know what needs to be done. That's what clarity will do. In order to seek clarity, you've got to remove emotion and desire. Emotion and desire is like a filter. Like if these had red lenses and I put them on, wow, first thing that happens is now the writing is clear. That's interesting. The second thing, if these were red lenses, everything that I looked at would be tinted red, right? So when I seek clarity, I need to remove the lens. I'm looking at the partner, and instead of going, I'm looking at what my partner is doing in hope that they're going to change, in hope that it's not going to end the relationship, in hope that they're going to love me, in hope that they're going to respect me, in hope that they're going to admire me, in hope they're going to cherish me, then I'm going to see the information incorrectly. Because when I see them being an arsehole, instead of going, oh, I must have to change and I must have to do something, and maybe if I'm better, or maybe if I was worth it then, no, I'm not going to see any of that stuff. I'm just going to see them and go, oh my gosh, you arsehole. I'm going to see it for what it is. Then I can bring emotion and desire into it. Wow, that hurts. I want this outcome, but I have learned it doesn't work this way, regardless of how much I want it to work. We'll dig into why you want it to work. That's another conversation, right? It's to make clear what is and is not okay. It's to be able to collaborate, to say no, trust yourself, respect yourself, to know your worth, to remove guilt, and to be free. Boundaries are for everyone. Every single person. They apply to every person. They apply to every aspect of your life. We need to know what is filling our cup and what is emptying our cup, and we need to address it. One of the things that impacts boundaries is expectation. It impacts your boundaries, it impacts your decision-making process, and it impacts your happiness, right? So expectation, we start looking at it, you go, here's the kicker. Expectation impacts fulfillment and happiness. So we have the thinking process and the feeling process. The thinking process is what we think determines our happiness. In other words, we get all academic. If X, Y, and Z happens, I'll be happy. Don't work that way, right? What actually determines our happiness is emotion, because happiness is a feeling and an emotion. So if the reality minus your expectation, let me give you an example. If you have an expectation that your abusive narcissistic partner is going to change, you will not find happiness, because they're not going to change, even though they may be able to do it for small periods of time to suck you back in, but they won't. So the reality kicks in. You subtract the expectation. The reality is they're horrible and it doesn't line up and we're hurt. The three things that impact this are the imagination gap, the intertemporal gap, the interpersonal gap, and the intertemporal gap. The imagination gap is literally, when it comes to expectation, is you set your expectation based on stories that you've told yourself and belief systems. For argument's sake, I will be loved when I do. Now you've done everything and it wasn't reciprocated. So you now know that doesn't work, but you have to alter the belief system to one that does. You see, it makes sense academically that if I'm all these awesome things, I'll be loved. Well, it doesn't work that way. You see, an abusive person does abusive things. They don't do it because of you at all. They're just abusive. It's the type of thing that you go, a redhead person has red hair regardless of you. A shitty person does shitty things regardless of you. But you get in relationship, they aim them at you, you take accountability and responsibility for them, break yourself down. The other thing we do is compare ourselves against others. We see what appears to be and compare ourselves against it. That's what it should be like. The third way is to constantly want more, to drive forward versus living in the present. So we need to use discernment. Discernment is one of the most powerful character traits that goes with that runs parallel to, that is the complementer of loyalty, empathy, commitment, love, truthfulness, trustworthiness, relationship. It's using your intuition to discover what is essential and true, detaching from your desire to rush decisions, distinguishing the true from the false, the facts from assumptions, and then choosing the best path forward. That is discernment. Be discerning in who and what you are loyal to. You see, we get into a relationship and we go, I'm loyal, and therefore I will always be loyal, and loyalty never, ever, ever expires. How does that work? It doesn't. You know, you've tried it, it didn't work. And it's not that you tried it once. You've tried it 1,000 times and it doesn't work, because you need discernment with loyalty. I'll be loyal to those worthy of loyalty. I will not be loyal to those that don't deserve loyalty just because I said I would be loyal, but they've changed the goalposts. Right? So the analogy I use to this is beautiful, loving, compassionate, empathetic people usually say they are loyal to a fault. And if we explore that and we put a score system in place of 100, and I say, how loyal are you, 1 to 100? Most people say 110, I'm loyal to a fault. And you go, I get it. Then I reply and say, what if I only give you a score of 50, in my opinion? People reply by going, that would suck, it would hurt. I feel I'm 100, you're telling me I'm 50, you're saying I'm a lot shitter than I think I am. And I go, no, I'm not. I'm only giving you a 50 points for how loyal you are to others. The other 50 points are how loyal are you to you. And so you get a perfect score with your loyalty to others, and you don't get that score for your loyalty to you. And therefore you look at it and go, oh, I didn't know it goes both ways. And it goes, but it does. Hence why your self-worth gets damaged. You cannot be loyal to you and trust you. If you are unfaithful to yourself, if you don't support yourself, what would happen if we were, out somewhere and someone abused you and I just stood there and did nothing? You'd be like, you asshole, why didn't you back me? And I ask that of you. Well, when someone does abuse you, why are you accepting it? That's not loyalty. That is not loyalty. We need to know the difference. So we use discernment. One of the biggest things people get confused with is the difference between hope and expectation. We make decisions in relationship on hope and not expectation. So let's have a look at a narcissistic relationship. First, let's understand the difference between hope and expectation. Hope is to want something to happen. I want to win Tats Lotto. Now, do I make decisions when I'm standing at the Tats Lotto agency? I've just bought a ticket. Do I ring up the boss while I'm there? It's not getting drawn until Saturday night and go, I'm not coming in tomorrow because I just bought a ticket. Of course you don't. But in relationship, we make decisions on hope. I hope they change. You see, we should make decisions on expectation. Expectation is much more academic, with background, wisdom, knowledge, discernment, experience. It's a strong belief that something will happen and be the case. For argument's sake, my expectation is I'll buy a $5 ticket and I'll look at the results. I'll get frustrated and throw it in the bin. And I'll probably do the same thing again next week in hope that I win Tats Lotto, but I'm not going to leave my job. Another example. My partner walks in on Monday after work and is horrible to me. Walks in Tuesday after work and is horrible to me. Works in Wednesday after work, is horrible to me. Walks in Thursday after work, is horrible to me. I hope that they won't be horrible, but what should my expectation be? My expectation should be based on the evidence that they're going to be horrible again. But when we're in narcissistic relationships, we make our decision to stay based on hope. I hope they change. I hope they see me for who I am. I hope they. We don't do that. We look at the evidence. We make decisions based on that. So we can see one of the fundamental errors that you won't repeat moving forward. And here is a little chart, a little formula to use. We look at 4 things: past experiences, character, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness. So now let's score a narcissist to determine what my expectation should be. My past experience: manipulation, coercion, abuse, gaslighting, blackmail, okay, projection. Okay, my past experiences, pretty tragic. What's the character of a narcissist? Tragic. What level of emotional intelligence and self-awareness do they have? None. Or they've got a whole lot, which makes them even worse because they're doing it deliberately. But let's stick with narcissism. Tragic. So now what would my expectation be? It's going to be that this ain't going to change and that it's crap. Then we look at the other table and go, how safe do I feel? How supported do I feel? How accomplished, value-free, evolved? How much alignment to purpose we have? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. What should my decision be? See ya. Why is it so simple to say, what is the solution with a narcissist? Run. Yet when we're in it, it's a very different thing. To say run, to run are 2 very different things. And for those that have been in narcissistic relationships, anyone that turns around and says, why didn't you just leave? All they are saying to you is, I have no understanding of what you've been through. That's all they're saying. They think they do, but to ask that question of you means they don't understand domestic violence. That's all it means. They might be trying their best and they get frustrated with you. It's just because they're unconsciously incompetent. They don't know what they don't know. And I'm so happy for them. I can be happy and think they're shitbags at the same time, by the way. So, types of boundaries. We spoke about this before. Physical, intellectual, emotional, sexual, material, time. These are different types of boundaries. Physical, obvious. Intellectual, thoughts and ideas. Here's the kicker: you're allowed to have them. Your personal feelings, they're yours. They are not wrong. Oh, you hurt me. No, 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 you didn't understand. They'd still hurt. I don't care how you categorize it. I'm hurting right now. I feel sad. Oh, well, you shouldn't. You are allowed to have them. You want people to respect that. Sexual, many people that have suffered from narcissism, most will have dealt with sexual abuse as well. And when I say sexual abuse, it's because the emotional, intellectual, and physical aspects of this aren't respected. So it doesn't mean rape, but it means sexual abuse. Why? Because so many times in a narcissistic relationship, you will just concede. Easier to concede and just lay there than have all the shit that goes with it. Well, if you concede, it means you haven't given consent. In order to touch you, your partner needs two things: consent and permission. So sure, you might have gone, okay, then that's permission, but it's not consent. Because consent cannot be manipulated. Consent cannot be coerced. Hence why you say you can't give consent under the influence of alcohol or drugs, because you're not of right mind. Well, under manipulation, coercion, gaslighting, abuse, you are not of right mind. You're not going, oh, yes, please. You're going, oh, fuck off, but let's go. Come on, get it over and done with. Very different. Material, money and possession. You know that they'll use that card against you. And time, listen to this: respecting personal time for all facets of life, including health, well-being, work, relationships, and hobbies. You are allowed to have every single aspect. And anyone that tries to interfere with that, that doesn't help that, promote that, is not someone you want in your life. You need balance in your life. It's not only okay, it's required. So, on the flip side of boundaries, we've got to understand warnings, red flags. So where do you think red flags sit? Give you a clue. In the same place. So what is a red flag? A red flag is no different to a stop sign or a give way sign. Give way sign, it's like, listen, it's not too bad. You should be able to see it from a distance, make a decision without actually coming to a halt, right? I recommend you slow right down, look left and right, check your things, but you don't have to stop. And when you get to the intersection, if it's safe to do so, proceed. If it's not, stop. The stop sign is going, whoa, stop, boom, drop everything. Danger zone, pay attention. Sit there for a few seconds before you make a decision on whether you are going to proceed or not. That's all red flags are. You might see a red flag, trigger a boundary, ask a question, red flag can disappear. You can do exactly the same thing and it can go from give way to stop. It can then very quickly go from stop to that's it, I'm out of here immediately. It's okay. So when we see red flag, oh, I saw a red flag, that's a red flag. It's like, yeah, you might be jumping at shadows, but when you drive down the road, is there a problem? There's a stop sign or a red traffic light? No. It's just a red flag. It means I've got experience in this space and what I'm seeing, don't ignore it, pay attention. Find out what it is. Yes, you might find out that that is no good. Don't proceed. That's what red flags are. So, what do your boundaries protect? You, your self-trust, your self-respect, your self-worth, and your self-love. Look at self-love. It's a strong sense of respect for and confidence in oneself. It's having a high regard for your own well-being and happiness. This is the kicker right here. Self-love means taking care of your own needs and not sacrificing your well-being to please others. When you say I love myself, it means not sacrificing you for them. How should you visualize a boundary? This is just some imagery more than anything else here and some examples, each to their own to what a boundary is. But the question is, how do I feel? Do I feel safe? No, I don't. Bang. Right? Any boundary that gets triggered gets thrown in to what I call the red zone. Right? Call it whatever you like. That was just the best name for this image that I came up with at the time, and I haven't come up with anything better. The point that I am making, right, is every single thing that needs to be raised, raise. Any boundary that is triggered in any way, shape, or form gets thrown into the red zone. Because you're at an intersection. And as a minimum, you need to slow things right down. Seek clarity. Anything that goes in the red zone has strict rules around it. And that is, a serious discussion needs to be had and behaviors need to change immediately. Now, if you look at the powerful wording that I've chose to use here, serious, immediately. Why do I use those words? Well, serious discussions, in other words, well, let's talk. I need to be heard right now. I need to, what I'm saying be valued. I need you to make me feel safe, supported, accomplished, value, free, evolved, aligned to purpose right now. Because if you dismiss me right now, I'm not going to feel safe, supported, accomplished, or valued. Okay, no problem. But I now have the information I need. Bye. Oh, that's really strict. No, it's not. No, it's not. You see, a true person, if you and I were in relationship and you were hurting me or you were upsetting me, or if I had a question that I'm thinking something negative towards you, would you like the right to at least know and understand so you can represent yourself? Of course you would. I would. I'd be like, thank you so much for giving me opportunity. I am so sorry. I am so, yeah, okay, because we've got different reference points. And I'm sorry, if I'm doing this and it's giving that emotion, let's work through that. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to take on your insecurity. It might be your insecurity, but I'm going to work with it through you. See, when a narcissist dumps their insecurity on you, I say they have to work on it, not you. It doesn't matter. You might say, listen, Jamie, I've been in a narcissistic relationship. And when you say like, you know, no, I didn't mean that. I've heard that 1,000 times. Now, for me, it may not mean the same thing as what the narcissist does. However, thank you for letting me know. How can I rephrase that to make you more comfortable? That's what you'd do for me, right? You wouldn't deliberately use a phrase or do a thing, right? That's so simple to address. But see how we're learning each other now, right? So a serious discussion needs to be had. Raise it. No, this is real, right? We're not being passive aggressive, hoping that the other person understands all the moving parts to what you're thinking, feeling, and go from there. No. A serious discussion just be like, oh, listen, do you mind if I just check something? When you said this, what did you mean? Right? And it's like, I like chocolate covered sultanas. That's all I meant by it. Oh, why is that? Oh, that used to be a code. We're just having a discussion. It can be as simple as that, all the way through to, hey, I really felt dismissed right then. I tried to bring something to your attention and you dismissed me. No, you're being silly. Oh, you just did it again. No, you're not understanding. See ya. You see, we want to see the response of the other person. The response is so much of the information, and don't assume. Why do I say behaviors need to change immediately? Because behaviors need to change immediately. Not in 3 weeks, not in 3 months, not for 3 weeks or 3 months. Behaviors need to change immediately. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to instantly be perfect from that point forth, but I'm going to make every effort. You see significant shift every single time, right? Some of your dialogue, you might use terms, right, where you've been raised with terms that doesn't mean anything, yet these days it's a bit sensitive. You're just being gay. Whoa, right? And you're going, oh, yes, you're right, it's wrong a little bit. And that could be really offensive. So it might take me some time to change my dialogue, but so long as I'm doing everything I can, sorry, no, I did it again. I'm so sorry about that. That is, and then you find, you know what I mean? Behaviors need to change immediately. And we catch things at the most simple form. How simple does it need to be? Come forward and speak your truth. How complex does it have to be? No, anything. Have the conversation. It's healthy to have conversation. What happens if they don't listen to you? They keep dismissing you. Well, it goes to a point of no return. Oh yeah, but I don't want it to end. Bad luck. You're never going to make it work in there, and you're only going to torture yourself. Just accept it. Manage your boundaries. Boundaries aren't things we put there in, going, well, I would ideally like you not to walk all over the top of them, but if you do, oh well. That's not boundaries. How far can I put my finger in your eye? Right? No, you can't do that. No, don't do it. It's like, no, when I say don't do it, I mean, no. Don't come within 10 feet of me with that bloody finger. Boundaries. Here's the kicker. Remember this. It's a really simple term. The boundaries you set, the boundaries people meet. Remember that. The boundaries you set. Oh, they just walk up. No. You're setting them, not them. You set them. They can't walk over boundaries because it's not a real fence. They might do it once, but who allows them to do it twice? So it depends on the severity. I might tell someone once, I might tell someone twice. I ain't telling them a third time. I'm sorry, ain't going to happen. I know where this road goes. Now, of course, I'm not being silly, right? It's the type of thing, kick your shoes off at the door. Right, 3, you're out. Right? But if there's disrespect and it continues, yeah, I can tell you now, not tolerating it because it doesn't stop at one thing. It continues. That's boundary management. It's always. But when it's just part of your norm, you'd be surprised how little you have to represent them. Why? Because intuitively, people know. When people come into your life and you just speak your truth, people know. It's one of the things people always say about me. Oh, they wouldn't get away with that with you, would they, Jamie? It's like, how do you even know that?
Mm.
You intuitively know without having to test my boundaries. Because it's what I put out there. This is also important to know. There are unilateral boundaries and there are collaborative boundaries. A unilateral boundary, uni being one, you set the boundary, and only you set the boundary. It is non-negotiable. Oh no, we need to talk about this. No, we don't need to talk about this. Well, I don't agree with it. See ya. What do I mean? These boundaries have anything to do with self-trust, self-respect, self-worth, self-love, your values, your beliefs, your purpose. It's not up for negotiation. Submit to me. No, we need to talk about this. No, we don't need to talk about this. I've done the thinking for both of us. No. A collaborative boundary we talk about. And they're always overridden by unilateral boundaries. A collaborative boundary, we're in a relationship. Where would you like to go for dinner? Because I would like Mexican. Oh, you would like Chinese? Happy to talk about it. What type of relationship are we in? Are we monogamous? That might fit well. Are we together but open? No. Unilateral boundary, that doesn't deal with my self-respect, my self-worth, my self-trust, my values. No. What are we going to do with our money? Do you want to buy a house? Do you want to buy a car? Do you want an investment property? Should we start a business? Where do we send the kids to school? Right? All of those different things, they're collaborative, a million collaborative boundaries. But if it conflicts with your unilateral boundaries, your unilateral boundary always wins. Always. So how do you set a boundary? You'll notice that it's uniformed all the way through. Self-worth, intuition, integrity in action. Know your worth, love you, put you first. Stop apologizing. Stop justifying yourself. All of these things you need to do with the removal of guilt. Because if you feel guilty doing them, then you are questioning your own worth. Now, this takes time and practice. It doesn't just happen, right? It's to listen to your intuition, trust it, to seek clarity. When it's talking to you, seek clarity. What is it really telling you, right? To understand that it's there to serve you, represent you, and to get away things that are breaking you down. And it's to know where you need them and why you need boundaries. That's intuition. Then integrity is to communicate clearly. It's to be assertive and speak your truth with peaceful confidence. You know, at this point in time, we can talk about a sentence that'll change your life, and it's worth writing down, right? So if you've got a pen and paper, write this sentence down. Hey, Danny, just take a seat.
Oh,
I'm joking.
okay.
I'm joking. The entire sentence is no. No is an entire sentence. Right? That's it. It's to set clear, tight boundaries. And here's the loop. It's to be congruent to your intuition and your self-worth. To know your worth, to listen to your intuition, to live with integrity for you. How do you manage your boundaries? You have 4 options. 3 of them don't work. 1 of them does. And I've hidden it. as to which one works. I've hidden it in green. Right? We can be passive aggressive, indirect resistance, right? It's avoidance of direct confrontation. In other words, I'm going to throw some stuff out there and I hope you it doesn't work. You know it doesn't work. It's not giving clarity. You've got aggression. You can either be loud and screaming, or you can get pushed to a point where you reactively become aggressive. Again, doesn't work, and it will make you feel guilty, right? You can be submissive. Submit your will to another person, fails. So what do you have left? It's to be assertive, right? It's to speak your truth. Just speak your truth with peaceful confidence. That's how you manage a boundary. Understand what a question is. A question is simply someone saying to you, I don't have an answer. I don't know. But I reckon you do. Kind of makes sense. That's why I'm asking you a question. Why am I coming and asking you if I don't think you have an answer? I wouldn't. I'd go ask Trish. Trish does have an answer. She's very clever. But if I'm asking you, it's because I think you know the answer. That's if it's a question. And then when a question is asked to you, you have to go, I assume you don't have the answer, and I do. Now I have to work out, am I a truthful person? If I am, well, then I just need to give you my truth. And if the answer happens to be no, well, no, it is. And I just speak it at this level. I don't have to be angry. I don't have to be aggressive. I don't have to be... Let me think about that for a minute. Do I want to sacrifice all of my dreams, wants, wishes, my life, my freedom, my safety for you? Nope. Nope, thanks for the opportunity. The answer is no. Now, how do you know if someone's manipulating you or coercing you? Well, they're not going to accept your answer. They're going to fight with you. They're going to gaslight you. In other words, it wasn't a question. It was manipulation, coercion, bullying, harassment, hidden in a question. Right? So it wasn't a question at all. Well, I say, be careful what you ask me. Be careful what you ask me, because I will speak my truth. You might not like that, but I will speak my truth. So if you don't want my answer, my suggestion to you is to not ask me a question. You see, I don't take accountability and responsibility for someone else's behavior. If you're silly enough to ask me a question, well, then you're going to get my answer. If you don't want my answer, go ask someone else. Yeah, but I want you to say these things. Well, that's not what I want. Come out and say, I don't give two shits what you think, how you feel. Do this, do as you're told. You are less than me. And see how I respond. But don't try and hide it in a question. Ask me a question, I'll speak my truth. Say something to me I don't like, and I will speak my truth. Cross my boundary. Make me feel a way that, well, I don't feel safe, supported, accomplished, valued, free, evolved, and have alignment to purpose, and I will speak my truth. And I will tell you, hey, listen, we need to have a chat. Because a serious discussion needs to be had and behaviors need to change immediately. Well, who the fuck do you think you are? Well, I think I'm me, and I think I have the right to represent me. And if you don't share that view with me, that's okay. And I respect that. Let's do it somewhere else. I can walk away hurt and upset because that's not what I wanted. I wanted this to work. but I didn't want it to work at the sacrifice of me because I know how that feels. And nothing is worse. So in other words, it was never meant to be. Thank you for showing me who you are. I appreciate it. Sucks. I really didn't want you to be a scumbag. You just happened to be. Right? It's a boundary management. Know your worth. Speak your truth. Love you. Represent you. Respect you. What it's about. Know your self-worth. Listen to your intuition and live with integrity for you. Always love, trust, and respect yourself and speak your truth with peaceful confidence. So that was the boundary management program. I hope there was a lot of awesome information in there for you. Are there any questions? Pretty thorough? Awesome. Well, what will happen from here, thank you so much for participating and being part of it. Trish is going to send you a workbook. So if you want to go through the workbook, which will actually give you a lot of the imagery from the program, but every single section has activities that you can do to really bring this home, right? It gives examples where you can work through it. Don't you make me bloody yawn, Vanessa.
Sorry. It's 11:30 here.
I know, you're beautiful. You're amazing. So there's workbooks coming your way, so you will get them. There is, Trish is also going to send you, if you want access to this program, where you can see me run through it in 6 videos or 7 videos, and that I think there's a 90% discount on the program. It's cheap anyway, but there's just a nominal amount if you want access to it for lifetime. Or alternative, she'll also send you information on our membership. So the membership that we have is absolutely brilliant. It's $69 a month, and what you get access to is sessions like this through every single week, so 8 a month, where we run through all different stuff. We run through the Phoenix program. You get access to the entire Phoenix program, which means you get access to the boundary management program is in that program. The Phoenix program is an entire trauma recovery program, self-worth program, very, very powerful program. So that's in there. Trish will give you a link. You can read the rest of the information. I don't want to sit here and try and sell to you, but you're just going to get more information. So don't think it just stops here. You will have access to additional support. However, if your journey does stop here with us, I'm so grateful for your time. So, well, with that being said, Trish, it is 9:29. I want it on the record that we finished on time for the first time ever. Thank you all for your time. Have a great evening, everyone. And always remember, stay strong.
Thanks, Jamie.
You are so welcome.
Jamie,
Bye.
I just wanted to comment on something quickly.
Yep.
I just quit my job.
Okay.
My boss was swearing at me, screaming at me, throwing shit at me. I was like, I was planning to do it for a little bit. And last week I was like, nope, goodbye.
Good girl. You should not tolerate that. And that's boundary management. It's the type of thing where you go, no one should swear and scream at you. No one. There is not a human on this planet that has the right to talk to you in any other way than with respect. They don't have to like you. That's okay. Right? I happen to have 1 or 2 men out there that don't like me. Probably got a lot of females too, but that's another story. But they have no right to talk to you, treat you with disrespect. They definitely have no right to physically intimidate you, hurt you, engage, touch you in any way, shape, or form. So I hope, I'm glad you've done that. But B, I hope that depending on what sort of organisation it is, that you report them.
I mean, I think he's now got no staff. Everyone's quit.
Well,
So
then
he's
he
hired new
deserves it.
people. So I think 3 of us have reported him so far. I'm just about to report him. I was just giving it a week. So because what I do is I wanted to wait for my pay to make sure he paid me. And then so now I just got paid now.
Yeah. Get your money. Get your
the
money.
the cash.
We'll always get your money first.
Yeah.
Always get your money first. So, yeah, well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. So, all right, well, I'm going to sign off and I'll talk to you all. I think we've got a session tomorrow, don't we?
I mean,
Or
I
is it
can't
Friday?
make it to basically any sessions anymore, so that's fun.
It's Friday.
Oh,
Friday.
I'm able to make it Friday because I don't have
There you
work
go.
placement anymore.
There it is.
What time on Friday?
10 a.m. on Friday.
Uh,
It's a workshop.
10 a.m. my time, so that's 12 your time.
12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just didn't
All
have
right,
my-
well, I will sign off. You all have a great evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Big
Take
out of that.
Yeah, same. Thank you very much.
I'm
You're
hearing
welcome.
it different ways every time, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, come back.
Absolutely.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.